Spring is the season of mud. I have to battle this every year, and every year I lose. In this episode, I'll be digging a mighty fine trench. But really, my goal is just to replace a culvert. Wait, you didn't think I used a shovel, did you? Okay, so I've been waiting for this mud puddle to dry up, and it finally did, a little bit. But I'm convinced that the culvert isn't working correctly over here, which is why we have so much mud. And like, I don't know if you guys can tell with this angle, but it's pretty bad. Like, last time I went through here with two-wheel drive, I kind of had to stop and put it in 4. So the situation is, we have this kind of spring somewhere up here, and water just kind of seeps out of the mountain, goes in here, and I believe the story is there's a wooden culvert. So back in, I'm not sure when, they used to build wooden pipe. Well, anyway, there's one in there, and it runs all the way across over there and comes out. So if I was to pick my tool for the job here, I would pick a large excavator. But since I don't have one of those right now, I'm going to use my Cat 966. I'm going to put a bucket onto it, and then I'm going to dig a massive hole using the bucket. So we're going to pull the pins on this, and I quickly realized that this is a 2-person job at least, because I'm having to go inside the machine and jiggle the controls and then try and knock the pins out by hand. And they're quite firmly stuck in there. When we launched that pin out, we actually got our drive shaft, which we're using to drive the pin. We got that wedged in there, as well as Mike's one glove. So the way this works is there's 4 pins you gotta line up. I start on the bottom usually. Set one side and then I just jiggle it around until the other side's lined up. And then I can work the controls until I have the upper pins lined up. And they usually go in fairly easily. And then I just have to deal with the snivy hydraulic line, which we're not using on the bucket, so there's an extra hydraulic line, and I'm just going to tie it up, and maybe I'll wire it out of the way. I just don't want it to get caught on anything. I'm just going to set the bucket down here beside these nice birch logs while I go come up with a game plan. So this little patch of road poses 2 problems. The first is that every spring it softens up because the culvert freezes, and it's also one of the narrowest parts of the entrance to the sawmill itself. So logging trucks typically are cutting the corner when they come in loaded. I'm just seeing maybe there's a way I can improve that while I'm working on the culvert as well. look at a tree, you're like, oh, it's not that big. And then you cut it down and you realize how many limbs it had as soon as you have to pack all of them.
Well, it seems to be flowing a little bit better now since I dug it up a little bit yesterday. I'm not sure if you can see that. So there's clearly water making it through. But if I leave it, it's just gonna ice up again. So I figure might as well dig it up, replace it with something better. A little bit of a dam here on the high side. This line here I think was originally used to thaw out the pipe. So what would happen in the spring is it would freeze because it's either doesn't have quite the right pitch on it or it's not a big enough pipe. You would just pour hot water into this line and it would thaw everything out. Looks like the end was broken off somewhere, so that's a big flow restriction issue there. By the way, this is in the culvert. This is a pipe that was inside the culvert to help thaw out ice. Yep, gonna need the gum boots. So much clay. Oh my gosh. This is the flattest spot right here. This is the water pooling. So I got to do a couple finishing touches on the culvert. Maybe add a little bit more rocks on the low side, and then obviously level out this entrance point. It's quite rough still, and maybe a touch more gravel to just fight the combat the clay content. We're working with basically a pure clay right here. So if you enjoyed that video, that's awesome. Subscribe. I'm not sure how many of you guys have ever seen a wood culvert, but we can have a quick look at it if you want. Oh, it's heavy. They use they must have used something like a Douglas fir, but then they treat the wood. So this is creosote treated, which is why it's lasted this long at all. And I think there's slats, so there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 to 6 pieces that are cut, and they're joined end to end, and then like a barrel, it's basically wrapped around the outside. So in this case, they used steel wire to wrap the pipe. So it came with, you know, hundreds, maybe even 1,000 feet of this steel wire, which I have here, and I think I'll salvage it because I don't know, that's quite a bit of wire.